Eliza had always been curious about the world beyond her quiet village, the narrow cobblestone streets, the smell of fresh bread from the small bakery, and the familiar faces of her neighbors had been her entire universe for as long as she could remember. Yet, every time she gazed at the horizon, she felt a tug, an invisible thread pulling her toward places unknown. Her mother often warned her, "Eliza, curiosity can be dangerous. The world outside isn't as kind as our village." But those words only fueled her desire. She longed for adventure, for stories that were not whispered by the village elders, but lived, experienced, and written with her own hands. One evening, as the sun dipped below the hills, painting the sky in shades of amber and violet, Eliza discovered an old, dust-covered book in the attic. Its cover was worn, the title barely legible, but it promised tales of distant lands, hidden treasures, and mysterious creatures. As she flipped through the pages, a strange map fell out, its edges frayed, the ink faded, but still readable. It wasn't just any map. This one seemed to move under her fingers, as if alive. Symbols that made no sense to her at first began to shift and rearrange themselves, forming a path that started from her village and wound through forests, across mountains, and ended in a place marked with a single glowing star. That night, Eliza couldn't sleep. Her mind raced with possibilities. Should she follow the map? What awaited at its end? Was it merely a tale, or had someone, perhaps a traveler long gone, left her a secret meant only for her discovery? By dawn, she had made her decision. With a small satchel, her most cherished belongings, and the mysterious map, she stepped out of her home, leaving the safety of familiar streets behind. The journey began with soft whispers of the wind guiding her steps. The path was not easy. Tangled woods and roaring rivers tested her resolve. But with each challenge, Eliza's determination grew stronger. She met creatures she had only read about in fairy tales, each encounter teaching her lessons of courage, kindness, and ingenuity. Days turned into weeks, and the map led her to hidden valleys bathed in perpetual twilight, mountains that touched the clouds, and ruins of civilizations lost to time. Along the way, she made friends, some human, some magical, and enemies who sought to claim the map's secrets for themselves. Through all these trials, Eliza discovered something even more profound than the adventures themselves. She was braver than she had ever known, wiser than her years suggested, and her heart was capable of immense love and empathy. Finally, after months of travel, the path ended at a grand, ancient tree standing alone atop a hill, its branches reaching for the sky like the arms of the world itself. Beneath its roots lay a hidden chamber, glowing softly with light that seemed to pulse in rhythm with her heartbeat. Inside, she found treasures beyond imagining, gold, jewels, and artifacts. But the true treasure was a book, much like the one she had found in her attic, filled with blank pages waiting for her stories. Eliza realized that the adventures were never just about the map or the treasures. They were about the journey itself. And now it was her turn to fill these pages with tales of courage, friendship, and discovery for generations to come. Eliza returned to her village, not as the girl who once stared at the horizon yearning for adventure, but as someone who had touched the edges of the world and carried its stories back home. She became a storyteller, a guide, and an inspiration, proving that curiosity, courage, and kindness could transform a single life and perhaps the lives of all who dared to dream. Eliza returned to her village, but the world she had left behind no longer felt the same. The familiar streets seemed smaller now. The bakery smelled sweeter, and the voices of her neighbors carried a rhythm she hadn't noticed before. Yet, even amidst the comfort of home, the pull of adventure never left her. The map had vanished after she reached the ancient tree, as if the world itself had taken it back, satisfied with her journey. Days passed, and Eliza began to notice small, unusual things. Letters tucked under her door with messages in unknown scripts, shadows that seemed to move of their own accord, and whispers in the wind that carried hints of distant lands. Each clue was subtle, yet unmistakable, a sign that the world she had glimpsed was still very much a part of her life, waiting for the next step. One morning, a knock on her door revealed a stranger, tall and cloaked in deep blue, with eyes that shimmered like stars. The visitor introduced herself as Lyra, a keeper of the hidden paths that connected realms. "Eliza," she said, "the map was only the beginning. You have proven yourself capable of walking the worlds between worlds, but there are other paths, other adventures that require your courage." Eliza listened, her heart quickening with excitement and fear. "What do you mean? Are there more lands like the ones I saw?" Lyra smiled. "More lands, yes, but each comes with its own challenges and choices. The world is vast, and some of its secrets are dangerous. Others are wondrous. You must decide which paths to walk and which to leave unexplored, for now." Without hesitation, Eliza agreed. She couldn't ignore the call of the unknown, the thrill of discovery that had awakened something deep within her soul. With Lyra as her guide, they set out at dusk, slipping through a hidden gateway in the forest that glimmered only in twilight. The first path led to a city of floating islands suspended in the sky by ancient magic. Bridges of light connected the islands, and the citizens rode the winds on elegant gliders. Eliza marveled at the architecture, the intricate gardens that defied gravity, and the markets brimming with spices, fabrics, and trinkets from worlds she had never imagined. Here, she learned the art of negotiation, the delicate balance of trust and caution, and the subtle ways in which influence could shape outcomes without the need for force. She met scholars who studied the stars not as mere points of light, but as living entities, guiding the tides of magic and time. Days turned into weeks again, and each adventure layered upon the last. Eliza faced storms that bent the very air, crossed deserts where the sand sang ancient songs, and navigated forests where trees could walk and rivers could speak. In each place, she grew, not just in skill, but in understanding, empathy, and wisdom. The collector's challenges grew more intricate with each encounter. One evening, as the sun dipped behind jagged mountains, Eliza found herself in a labyrinth carved entirely from crystal. The walls shimmered, reflecting not only her image, but fragments of memories she had never lived. The labyrinth whispered doubts into her mind, trying to convince her that she was unworthy of the journey she had undertaken. But Eliza remembered Lyra's words. "The world tests those who walk its hidden paths, but the strength you seek is already within you." With steady breath, She moved forward, trusting her instincts over the illusions that threatened to paralyze her. At the labyrinth's center, a pedestal held a small, unassuming key. As Eliza took it, the walls of crystal dissolved into mist, revealing a hidden city below, a place of perpetual twilight where beings of light and shadow coexisted in a delicate balance. The key, she realized, unlocked not a door, but understanding. The balance of forces in the universe was fragile, and her actions, however small, could tip it. Here, she learned about responsibility. Each choice she made rippled outward, affecting creatures, cities, and even entire realms. She discovered allies among the city's inhabitants, a shape-shifting guide named Tovin, who could navigate any terrain, a healer named Maris, whose songs mended both wounds and hearts, and a scholar named Cal, who studied time as fluid rather than fixed. Together, they formed a fellowship of sorts, each bringing skills and wisdom to complement the others. Their next journey led them across the shimmering sea, a vast expanse of water that reflected the sky like a mirror. Beneath its surface lay ruins of civilizations swallowed by time, and within those ruins, knowledge long forgotten. Eliza dove into the depths, guided by currents that seemed alive, discovering scrolls that spoke of the origins of magic itself. It was during these travels that Eliza began to sense a larger pattern, a web of interconnections between realms, creatures, and the flow of magic. She realized that the map she had first discovered was not random. It was part of a network designed to train, test, and prepare those capable of walking multiple worlds. She was not merely adventuring. She was being groomed for a role she had not yet fully understood. But the collector was never far behind. One night, as they camped beneath a sky streaked with violet lightning, a shadow descended. The collector spoke in a voice that seemed to echo from everywhere and nowhere at once. "Impressive, little traveler. You have learned quickly, grown stronger, and survived trials that would have broken others. But strength alone does not make one wise. True wisdom comes from choice, and you are about to face a choice that will define everything." Eliza felt the weight of those words. She had faced danger before, but this felt different. The choice was not a test of courage or cunning. It was a test of heart, of values, of the very essence of who she had become. The following dawn, Eliza awoke to find the fellowship gone, replaced by a single path leading into a forest bathed in silver light. The air shimmered with magic, humming softly in resonance with her heartbeat. At the forest's edge stood the collector, but this time there was no malice in their eyes, only expectation. "You must choose, Eliza," the collector said. "One path leads to power, knowledge, and influence over all realms. The other leads to responsibility, the protection of life and balance. You may take one, but not both. Choose wisely, for your choice will echo across worlds." Eliza's mind raced. She thought of the friends she had made, the city she had seen, the lessons she had learned. Power tempted her, whispering promises of control and understanding beyond imagining. Yet, as she gazed at the forest and the living creatures that thrived within it, she felt another voice, a quiet, insistent pull toward empathy, service, and balance. She remembered Lyra's guidance. "The paths we walk shape not just ourselves, but the world around us. Courage without wisdom can destroy, but compassion builds." Taking a deep breath, Eliza stepped forward on the path of responsibility. The collector nodded, a flicker of respect passing through their inscrutable gaze. "You must choose, Eliza," they said. "You must choose one, but not both. Choose wisely, for your choice will echo across worlds." The forest transformed around her, luminous trees bending to form corridors of light, leading her to a great hall where beings from all realms gathered. Some glowed, others cast shadows, but all watched her with reverence. Here, Eliza understood her true role, not merely as an adventurer, but as a guardian of the interconnected worlds, a bridge between magic, life, and knowledge. Over the following months, she learned to harness the subtle threads of magic that wove through each realm. She mediated disputes, healed wounds both physical and emotional, and guided travelers who, like her, sought the mysteries beyond the familiar. Each decision required thought, empathy, and courage. She discovered that even small acts could ripple into monumental consequences. Yet, Eliza never lost her sense of wonder. Every dawn brought a new adventure, whether navigating hidden valleys, speaking with ancient spirits, or learning forgotten arts. She chronicled her journeys in a great book, each page alive with sketches, maps, and stories. Travelers who found her learned not just of distant lands, but of resilience, wisdom, and the power of choice. Years passed, and Eliza became a legend whispered across realms. But she remained the same at heart, the curious girl who once gazed at the horizon, longing for adventure. She realized that true adventure was not just the lands she had explored, but the growth she had achieved, the lives she had touched, and the balance she had maintained. And so Eliza's story continued not as a tale of simple conquest, but as a living testament that courage guided by wisdom, compassion chosen over desire, and curiosity tempered by responsibility could shape a world, or even many worlds, into something beautiful and enduring. In every corner of the realms, in every whispered wind and shimmering river, her legacy lived on, a reminder that adventure is not only about what we see, but who we become along the way.
After choosing the path of responsibility, Eliza found herself entering realms unlike anything she had imagined. The first was the Forest of Echoes, where every sound, footsteps, whispers, even thoughts, manifested as shimmering, floating lights. Navigating this forest required more than courage. It required listening, understanding, and sometimes even speaking in silence. Eliza learned to attune herself to the echoes, discerning the truths hidden within layers of illusion. Here, she met Sora, a fox-like creature with fur that shimmered like moonlight. Sora could traverse the echoes at incredible speed, delivering messages across the forest and sensing danger before it arrived. They became inseparable companions, teaching each other the meaning of trust and loyalty. With Sora by her side, Eliza discovered hidden groves where ancient spirits slept, guarding secrets of the realms that had been lost to time. Her next journey led her to the Skyward Isles, islands suspended in the air by invisible currents of magic. Bridges of light connected the floating lands, but storms could appear without warning, twisting bridges into loops or snapping them entirely. Here, Eliza met Kaelin, a wind rider who had spent decades mastering the currents and riding storms as if they were friends. Kaelin taught her how to read the sky, how to listen to the wind, and how to bend the energy of the currents to aid, not control. Together, they navigated treacherous paths, rescuing travelers stranded on isolated isles and uncovering ruins of civilizations that had once ruled the skies. Yet danger never stayed away for long. The Collector, though distant, continued to test her. Shadows and illusions would appear along her path, sometimes posing as friends, sometimes as foes. One particularly harrowing trial was in the caverns of time, where the walls themselves could rewrite memories, showing her lives she had never lived, choices she had never made. Eliza faced herself, her fears, her regrets, her desires, and realized that the greatest challenge was not the monsters outside, but the shadows within. She emerged stronger, understanding that empathy and self-knowledge were as vital as courage. Through her journeys, Eliza began to see connections across realms. A river in one world might flow into the skies of another, or a tree in the forest of echoes might be the root of a city in the skyward isles. She discovered that every act, every decision resonated beyond its immediate effect, shaping the balance of magic, life, and time. Eliza's fame spread across realms. She was sought as a guide, a healer, and a mediator. However, she remained humble, always remembering the quiet village where her journey began and the attic where she first found the mysterious book and map. Those simple beginnings grounded her, reminding her that curiosity must always be paired with wisdom. In the crystal spire, a tower that stretched into the clouds, she uncovered secrets of the universe itself. The spire held fragments of worlds long vanished, records of magic and life encoded in crystal lattices. Here, Eliza met Marin, a scholar who had spent centuries studying the flow of time, and Tally, a healer who could mend wounds with both hands and words. Together, they uncovered patterns in magic, learning to prevent imbalances that could cause entire realms to collapse. Eliza's greatest test came when a rift opened between worlds, a tear threatening to consume both the Forest of Echoes and the Skyward Isles. Creatures fled, currents twisted, and chaos spread. Eliza, with her companions and Sora at her side, devised a plan. She journeyed into the heart of the rift, confronting the Collector one final time. "This is the ultimate test," the Collector intoned. "Do you protect only yourself or the countless lives that depend on your choices?" Eliza chose wisely. She called upon all she had learned: courage, empathy, knowledge, and magic. With careful precision, she mended the rift, restoring balance to the realms. The process was exhausting, pushing her to the brink, but she succeeded. The Collector nodded, disappearing into the shadows, leaving only a whisper: "You are ready." The realm celebrated her victory, yet Eliza did not linger in glory. She continued to travel, teach, and guide, chronicling every adventure in her growing book of stories. Travelers, scholars, and adventurers from countless worlds came to learn from her, inspired by her courage, wisdom, and compassion. Years passed, but Eliza never stopped exploring. She discovered hidden lands beneath the oceans, cities built inside mountains, and skies where stars could be touched. She faced dangers unimaginable, from storms that could erase memory to creatures that fed on fear itself. And through it all, she grew, not just in power, but in understanding, empathy, and the quiet joy of seeing life flourish because of the choices she made. Eliza became a legend, not for the battle she fought or the treasure she found, but for the lives she touched, the wisdom she shared, and the example she set, that true adventure lies in curiosity, guided by compassion, and that the heart is the most powerful compass of all. And so Eliza's story continued, weaving through worlds and lives, a tapestry of courage, wisdom, and endless wonder. Even as new travelers discovered her chronicles, they felt the pulse of her journeys, a reminder that the greatest adventure is not merely to see the world, but to understand it and to make it better along the way.
As Eliza continued her journeys, she realized that the universe was far larger and more intricate than she had ever imagined. Each realm had its own heartbeat, its own rhythm of life, and its own lessons to teach. She often traveled with companions, Sora, Kaylin, Marin, and Tali, but sometimes she journeyed alone, trusting her instincts and the subtle guidance of the winds, rivers, and stars. One day she arrived at the Valley of Mirrors, a place where every reflection revealed not only one's appearance, but also their potential, choices, and hidden fears. Here she met Aaron, a young dreamweaver who could shape reality with his imagination. Together, they explored the valley, confronting visions of futures that could be, learning that potential alone meant little without the wisdom to wield it responsibly. Eliza taught Aaron that courage, tempered by empathy, was the foundation of true power. From the valley, she journeyed to the floating gardens of Lumeria,
where plants thrived in midair, rooted in clouds rather than soil. These gardens were home to Alaris, a caretaker spirit who tended to the magical flora and communicated through colors and scents. Eliza learned to understand the subtle language of the gardens, discovering that life, even magic, was deeply interconnected and that actions in one place could ripple across entire realms. As she traveled, Eliza's fame spread further. She became known as the Guardian of Realms, a title given not for her strength, but for her wisdom, courage, and the balance she maintained. She mediated disputes between kingdoms, healed those afflicted by curses, and guided lost travelers who stumbled upon paths they were not ready to walk alone. Her book of chronicles grew heavier with each journey, each page alive with maps, stories, and sketches of the creatures and places she encountered. Yet not all was peaceful. The collector, though distant, continued to observe. At times, subtle traps appeared in the form of illusions, tempting offers, or challenges that tested the boundaries of morality and courage. One particularly harrowing trial brought her to the Labyrinth of Whispers, a place where the walls could read your deepest desires and manifest them into reality. Eliza faced visions of ultimate power, the ability to shape worlds with a thought. And yet she remembered the lessons of her journeys. True strength lies in humility, compassion, and the courage to choose what is right, not what is easy. Emerging victorious, she traveled to the islands of eternal dawn, where the sun never set and time flowed differently. Here she discovered a civilization that had mastered the balance of light and shadow, a people who could bend day and night to nurture life. She learned from their scholars, artists, and guardians, understanding that every society, no matter how advanced, faced struggles that required wisdom, empathy, and courage to overcome. Her next adventure took her beneath the crystal oceans, where cities glimmered beneath the waves and sentient coral grew with minds of their own. Here she met Nereus, a guardian of the deep who guided her through caverns filled with bioluminescent creatures and ancient ruins. Together they uncovered relics of civilizations swallowed by the sea, learning secrets of magic that had been preserved for millennia. Throughout all these journeys, Eliza never lost the sense of wonder that had guided her from the very beginning. She wrote every discovery, every lesson, and every story in her great book, leaving a living record for future travelers. And though she faced challenges that tested her courage, wisdom, and compassion, she never wavered from her path, understanding that true adventure was not merely about seeing new places, but about growing as a person and helping others to do the same. Years passed, and Eliza's chronicles became a guide, a beacon of hope, and a source of inspiration across realms. Young adventurers, scholars, and guardians studied her journeys, learning not just about the worlds, but about themselves. They learned that curiosity, courage, and compassion could transform lives, shape societies, and protect the delicate balance of existence. In the final chapter of her journeys, Eliza returned to her village, the place where it all began. The familiar streets, once small and confining, now felt alive with possibility. She shared her stories, teaching others that adventure could begin anywhere and that the greatest journeys often start in the heart and mind. Eliza looked toward the horizon, knowing that though her greatest journeys had been written, the world remained vast, full of wonder, and waiting for those brave enough to explore it. Her legacy endured not as a tale of conquest, but as a living testament. Courage guided by wisdom, empathy chosen over desire, and curiosity tempered by responsibility could shape worlds, touch lives, and illuminate paths for generations to come. And so the Chronicles of Eliza continued, in every whisper of wind, every shimmer of starlight, and in the hearts of those who dared to dream, explore, and act with courage and compassion. Her story had become more than a tale. It had become a world, alive, vibrant, and eternal.